Well, there appears to be no end in sight to the stalemate in wage negotiations between government and the unions representing public servants. Unions have been threatening to go on strike if government fails to meet their demand of a 7% wage hike. Speaking during Workers' Day commemorations at the weekend, President Cyril Ramaphosa urging all parties to return to the negotiating table. Now, Cosatu and the SACP both slamming government for the wage impasse. Let's get an update now on the status of negotiations, and we speak to Public Servants Association's Reuben, Maleka, who talks to us all the way from Durban. Mr. Maleka, thanks for your time. What is the status of negotiations at the Bargaining Council?
Thank you, Toli, and the viewers of Newsroom. Yes, we actually received a notice this morning from the employer requesting an urgent meeting to discuss and negotiate on the stalemate that we have reached on the 23rd of April. And we are trying to gather our negotiators. As you know that, calling a meeting in the morning and say that in few hours you want to meet, it might be a challenge if some of the negotiators were engaged in other activities of the unions. But hopefully we'll try to push. If we are not able to manage for today, definitely tomorrow morning we'll have managed to get our negotiators around and continue with the negotiations. Obviously, as unions, our immediate intention is to see this matter resolved. And yes, of course, the strike will be the last resort if the employer would continue to undermine us and give us a 0%.
Yeah, what hope is there, Mr. Maleka, that government will probably shift from its position of a 3-year wage freeze?
Look, the fact of the matter is that the hope is given by their stance that they've shown at the local government level. They already gave the local government level 2.8%, which is the same government. So we at the provincial and national were at 0. So hopefully, if government could give other sphere of government 2.8%, there's likelihood or there's a potential that they would also respect us and give us something that we can take for mandating.
Yeah. Well, if I look back to some of what you have said, I think it was in the lead-up to the decision on the 23rd of April, which resulted in the stalemate. You did indicate that on matters of the salary, that's the immediate benefit that you are looking for. Yes, you might have hit a snag there, but there were some positive aspects to some of what you are demanding. Talk to us about those substantive matters.
Look, it's not substantive matters. It's matters that we have said from the onset that would also table non-monetary demands, such as the provision of breastfeeding facilities, filling of vacancies in the public service. The employers give an attitude of saying that they are willing to accept those demands. But remember, those demands, as we said, are non-monetary, are not necessarily giving our members anything in the pocket. Hence, we are in a deadlock. If the employer is willing to break the deadlock, it is on the main issue, which is a salary increase and also issue of housing allowance. Then all those small matters, I think it will be the string that can be attached to the whole agreement, and we can move forward. If the employer is not willing to move on their 0% offer, then it creates animosity where even those small things that they've given means nothing, because the basic here is that they must give us at least an offer that we can mandate and be able to show members that here is the percentage and what is your mandate.
Yeah. As you will know, Mr. Maleka, government is under pressure to narrow public debt as it tries to stabilize the country's debt to GDP ratio. Whilst you have that in mind, there is the ratings agency Moody's that is expected to release its review of South Africa's sovereign rating. All of these things combined, if I'm to put on my skeptical hat, I would say you're most probably not going to get anything that is going to make you happy. Are you, again, going into this meeting optimistic that you might have a changed position from government? I'm noting your part or your response around local government, which has received something.
Look, we are well aware of those rating agencies that have been downgrading the country. But as you agree with me, Toli, the challenges that the country faces, although the government wants to shift the blame to public service wage bill, but we know that this government of today is not, the main challenge of it is not necessarily the salaries of public servants. It's mainly issue of maladministration, corruption that has led to the bleeding of the fiscus. This country has got much ability in terms of the revenue correction to not even worry about public service salaries. But until such time that they're dealing with the issue where the problem is, which is the bleeding of the fiscus, they are not going to get it right. Because even if you go to an extent of saying public service does not get salary, the fact of the matter is that through tendering, through all this means that they used to get the money through looting, then we are not going to fix the country. All what we are saying as public servants is that besides that they're giving us 0%, we are going there with open mind and we are prepared to make offers or proposals that can alleviate their challenge, but we cannot move on our proposals if the employee stuck to 0%.
Yeah. Final question, Mr. Maleka, and very briefly, if you can, how would you respond to someone who says, but why do public servants think that they deserve a salary increase when you get to public offices or government offices and there's just a lackadaisical attitude to serving the very people that they are demanding an increase from?
I would respond, I would say that who carried this country during COVID? Who made sure that the fight against COVID in the hospitals, in the correctional centers, especially schools that under severe pressure, they managed to save their curriculum? I'm talking about the Home Affairs Department, all departments, the public service has come to the party. They've made sure that South Africa remains where it is today to fight against COVID, to sustain the country. Therefore, yes, of course, we know some of the hiccups, and mostly people don't blame the human being behind the computer. They forget that in many instances, like for instance, in Home Affairs, you find those long queues are not created by the officials, but they're created by the system that from time to time will be down. And that cannot be blamed on members.
Reuben Maleka, he is with the Public Servants Association. Thank you very much for your time.